to invest. Nigeria is serious about revolutionizing investment promotion. I'll stop there. Let me begin with you, Dikpo. What you make of the statement by the president? Should he have made this statement? Because the question or some of the comments that are coming is the president shouldn't have said this at all.
Okay, well, initially, if you saw the headlines and all of that, you'd be quite alarmed. But reading the context in which it was said, because in the end, context does matter.
Absolutely.
So in the context with which he was saying it, you could tell that, and anyone else will tell you that, unfortunately, Nigeria has a global reputation for such things, especially within government quarters. We've had a few cases where, because of that reason, certain investors have said they won't come into the country and they won't do business with Nigeria ever again, ranging from international airlines to people who wanted to do something in sports and across different industries. So I believe it was within that context that the president was speaking from. And you would also recall that in the last couple of months that he's been in office, he's been making a lot of these business trips. And I believe that he also made that emphasis mostly for the people at home. That's what I believe. I don't believe that it was really for the Qatari people. It was mostly to tell them that, look, I'm in business. I'm interested in bringing money in. I won't take it from anyone to see how you scuttle whatever I'm trying to do because you are requesting for a bribe and then they're going to pull back. So I believe it was more of a statement to tell the folks at home other than the folks within the Qatari government, and it just happens to be a good platform for him to have done that within the context of the conversation that we're having there. But for me, I believe it was also him just trying to emphasize the fact that Nigeria is open for business and that he is really serious about getting a lot of investment in and establishing a working relationship with the Qatari government and with the rest of the world.
All right, let me come to you. He has stepped on toes with this statement, but would that really serve as a deterrent to those who are involved in this act, so to speak, by just making this statement?
Well, it will be the first step, and I believe that examples will need to be made. Because in the end, like you rightly asked, will it stop them? It may not. There are some people that they are just really hardcore at heart with this kind of things. I mean, you can't say good morning to them without parting with something, right? So in the case where they do err in this particular conversation, they need to be made examples of. And the examples need to be concrete, it needs to be public, it needs to be loud to send a message to others. Because unfortunately, that has always been the problem that we've had so far, having to make sound examples of people who were involved in corruption within the corridors of power to see them adequately prosecuted. And we've had this conversation here every other time. And I believe examples need to be made. And I know that one of the times we had the conversation here, I believe we had a gentleman lawyer who said that the problem is with our laws. So can we also look at reframing our laws to accommodate these things? Because a couple of days now, maybe last week, we saw reports of maybe 5 custom officers that were involved in taking bribes and corruption and all of that, up to a couple of billions of naira. And I think there was one of them that had maybe 2.5 billion to his name and returned like 50 million. I said, what are we doing with that? That's not acceptable. Because personally, if you were to ask me, I would recommend that anyone caught in the act of taking bribes or involved in corruption in public office should have a minimum of 15 years in prison, non-negotiable. Now, the 15 years in prison will still involve you returning at least 75% of the money that was stolen.
Why not 100%?
And so that's why I said at least.
Okay.
At least. So, because the assumption would be, I mean, you didn't collect it yesterday, Monday, and then they so maybe it's something that you say you spent it over time or you use it to fly first class and all of that. So we want at least 75%. Now, in the case where you can't meet up to 75% and maybe you bring 50%, that 25% difference will prorate it into number of years for you and stack it on your 15. Because, no, so we have to be very serious with these things.
Fighting corruption.
Yes, because if you then do the math, you find out that maybe, let's just assume that the age you get into public office or to get to the rank where you are at the level where you are given those kinds of money, you are maybe like 45, 50. So standard at 50, you are doing 15 years already, that's 65 before you come out. And then we're stacking it on with what we plurated for you. And then you're asking yourself, at 70. The people I even stole the money for, they will have blasted the whole thing before I come out. So is it really worth it? So these are conversations that people need to have and the deterrents that need to be in place. But we need to look at our laws accordingly and make sure that it serves as a huge deterrent that covers all and it isn't selective in how it is executed. Because in the end, we can't keep having these conversations and say that certain things they expect to happen. You can't steal 7 billion naira and then you get fined of 7 million naira or return 7 million and then a deal is cut with you, you get a slap on the wrist, but you have somebody who owns a shop, the employee or apprentice steals 70,000 naira and then they are locked up for 3 years, no arraignments, no nothing. That's not how it's done because somehow it's looking like the bigger the theft or the bigger the thief, the better for you. So we must see how we make our laws work for us and work for all.
And when corruption is fighting back, because that statement, we had it in previous administration. Recall that when President Muhammadu Buhari came, he talked about fighting corruption. That was part of the pillars on which his administration stood at the time. And even across the world, people knew him as that president who was ready to fight corruption. But at the end of the day, a lot of persons said corruption was even really entrenched at the end of the day during his administration. And he was always mentioning the matter of corruption is fighting back, corruption is fighting back. And recently, we also heard the vice president talking about how there were saboteurs, undermining the efforts of government at addressing the situation that we are seeing and what is going on as it is. That political will to really clamp down on persons whom, because if we know there are these people, what is wrong with us, putting down our feet on the ground to say these people must be brought to book and Nigerians must see that this has been done because this is how trust is built when it comes to the government and the people.
Well, with regards to the political will, we're hoping to see a lot more of it. It isn't just enough to say words, actions must follow, or else words don't mean anything. So in terms of corruption fighting back, like we've heard in the past, we must also understand that even though we say that corruption is endemic or systemic or institutionalized or whatever word we want to use for it, that the people involved in the end are still Nigerians. They aren't foreigners.
Ghosts.
We didn't import them from Cameroon or Ghana or Niger. They are invariably Nigerians. With the vice president saying that there's a lot of sabotage going on in the system, I mean, there's certain things that you look at and then you're saying, maybe they may be right because certain things do not make sense. I mean, today we're complaining about FX and sometimes you just have to ask questions because you call someone in the black market 9 a.m., how much is dollar? It tells you 1. By 2 p.m., you call him again, it tells you 1,550. So the question is, what are the market forces responsible for that 350 naira margin within those couple of hours? Nobody can say anything. And then you call him again by 3:30 and then he tells you it's 1,620. That's not how things are done. So we must see a lot of prosecution done. And if it is going to be done en masse, if it is going to be done in waves, we must see it done and it must be done swiftly. And it must be done with great intent to ensure that it serves as a deterrent to a lot and a deterrent to all. Because in the end, we'll just keep having these conversations and the people involved will always say, that's what the government will always say. They will always talk. They won't do anything about it. And action must be seen to be taken or else words will never make sense. So the political will is something that we'd like to see a lot of. They've shown, to be fair, they have shown great intent with regards to having to see how they can navigate around all these issues, especially with the ones that we believe that there's sabotage within the system. But at the end, can we have some prosecutions done? Because where there's economic sabotage, that in itself is illegal. Okay? So we must see prosecutions done. We must see arrests made. We must see these things done. And it must be done publicly. Because, like you said, it's how to earn the trust of the people. Because we have a lot of talk. We've had a lot of talk, and we still do. And a lot of people aren't seeing any real life tangible difference. Because what people really care about is that I go to the market today, how much is a cup of salt? How much is a cup of rice, a cup of gari? Are those things translating into anything? Or we're just saying these words and it doesn't translate into anything? So we must know that, okay, this prosecution of these individuals translates into this in the real world, either immediately, in real time, or it will take some time. Right. But they must be able to adequately communicate effectively with the people. So let us know what is really going on. But the question is, who are the people that will pass the laws? The people that are collecting 35 million naira, they're not going to say...
shoot themselves in the foot.
Yes, but it is true that we must make public office unattractive financially. In the last 2 months, there was the Prime Minister, I'm trying to remember the country now, that had to move back with her parents. Head of government has to move back with her parents that the salary the government is paying me is not working. In the UK, there was an MP that had to resign, that the salary you are paying me cannot cover my mortgage. So he said he's going to private practice. I mean, it's that simple, because in the end, okay, I'm serving the people, I'm earning a wage, but the math isn't mathing like we say these days, and it's not working. Man likely has wife and kids, school, mortgage. He said the thing is not covering his mortgage, so he resigned. So it wasn't an issue, or maybe some scandal happened. They asked him why he resigned. He said, okay, that what I'm being paid isn't working. So he resigned, and he's gone into private practice. So until we have systems like that, where people come in to legitimately want to serve, I believe that we will keep having these conversations over and over again. And I mean, we've had these conversations here for the last couple of years. Up until now, the salary of US president is $400,000. Now, Biden is currently collecting $400,000. Obama collected $400,000. So the point I'm trying to make is they've not adjusted anything for inflation to increase the salary since Obama's time. It's Obama's first term. He did 8 years. Trump came in 4 years. Biden has been there 4 years. The salary has remained the same. And like I shared a couple of years ago, some folks don't know that they actually do pay rent out of that salary for being in the White House. So people just see them in the White House and they say, oh, okay. No. For example, if all of us now go visit the President of the United States today and they make special requests on the menu, it comes out of their pockets. It doesn't just come automatically like that. I mean, I think it was Michelle Obama going into the second term that she had to sit her husband down and say, Mr. Man, the way we blew money the first time is not working. But if we run the second term like this, we're going to come out broke. And he said, what happened? He said, okay, do you know that these are the standard meals we get for these kind of guests and all of that? If you add all of this to it, we are charged for it personally. So in the end, what the president mostly gets isn't just accommodation that he pays for, isn't just food that some of it is free, some of it he pays for. It's mostly the security of it. The security is handled by the state. Right. So that's really, for me, the perk that the president of the United States gets from the office. But here, everything is taken care of. Transportation, everything. And that has sort of not incentivized people to go there with a heart of service, where you have people who are representing us, not really doing the bidding of the people, and not going there with a heart of service. They just go there to believe that, for some people, they believe it's a retirement home for governors or for people who are in various political phases of their lives. Right. So we must see how we desensitize or remove the large incentives, financial incentives of being in public office from our current system, because in the end, we cannot even afford it to begin with. So either it's corruption, either it's for corruption reasons or not, we cannot even afford it to begin with. And it's bleeding us dry. So we must see how we cut back on it.
Statement made by the president is that he focused on the youth, saying that our greatest strength is our people. Our strength lies in the capacity of the Nigerian youth. They have energy, talent, and self-belief. They are quality partners for Qatari industry. They are educated, reliable, and they are proactively seeking to add value wherever they are. So have we harnessed this group of persons in such a way that you see this bilateral agreement really yielding something tangible for our economy?
In the scale with which we may be able to maximize it, I would say maybe 70%. And this is why I say that, because we do have a very large youth population.
Absolutely.
A very, very large youth population. Yeah. So I believe that whatever investment is coming in those particular areas, we have competent folks who can fill in those positions, all right? But looking at it from a bird's eye view that the Qatar agreement isn't the only one that is on the table. We've had the ones from other countries, like over 10, thereabouts. Can we maximize all of those together efficiently? We may not be able to do that. And that's where investment in education does come in. Because in terms of, so a lot of these investments and roles would likely come in technical form. Some requires a lot of specialization, which we may not have a lot of them at this time. Now, I would hope that the folks coming in to invest will be open to training our people for some time while they take part in these jobs, in these investments, in these businesses that will be coming in from them. I would hope that that would be the case. But in terms of us even having the bare minimum to even get through the door in the first place, because, I mean, we have jobs here in Nigeria where a lot of us even complain every other day about interviewing people, and it's a huge problem. I think I've mentioned that here before. So we must be serious with these conversations and see how we adequately invest in education, because this is what we've always been saying in the past, that we must invest in education, not just for the now, but for the future. Because on some level, if you do not have certain educational requirements or backgrounds or exposure, there are certain opportunities that you will just not have access to, no matter whatever investments anybody is bringing in, or anybody that is just coming in with whatever goodwill. So there are certain things that would serve as a limiter for certain people, and they will just be there complaining, okay, the president is doing this, but the question is, are you equipped, are you qualified for those opportunities? So that's what a lot of our folks need to understand. And of course, there's also a place of personal development. So aside from whatever education your parents will have been able to give you, or your guardians, or maybe yourself, have been able to develop yourself personally outside what you learned within the four walls of a classroom. So those are the important things that we need to consider. But in terms of maximizing them, I believe that we do have some hope with maximizing those opportunities if we are very serious about them. And like he rightly said, hopefully that they are able to see the light of day. And I believe it will serve us very well, because if you know the history of Qatar, you would know that they're a very serious-minded country. Absolutely. And not just from what the Sheikh said. I mean, it was just 1987 that they discovered gas there. And look at what Qatar is today. And it's just gas, not oil. And just gas that was explored by ExxonMobil back then. And look at what they've been able to transform the country to under 40 years. So you can tell that they're very serious-minded people. So I'm not surprised that he made the statement he made, saying that, you know what, the Commonwealth the money is not for me. The money is for our people and future generations to come, because that's the mindset they had always carried with. And that's why they are where they are right now, which for me goes to the part two of what I wanted to say, that it is also instructive that our leaders also have this particular perspective, that whatever Commonwealth we have now, whatever resources we have now, whatever opportunities we have now, is not for them personally. It isn't just for us all for now. It is for the generations to come. And to see how we can harness these opportunities and maximize them accordingly, and not just leave debt for the unborn generations to come. We must also be able to leave them legacies and strong foundations and institutions for them to see, meet, and be able to build on when they are around.
The agreement is the matter of tourism. We know Qatar for tourism. And Nigeria also has a lot when it comes to tourist sites that we haven't harnessed for a long time now. And a lot of Nigerians have been speaking to that issue, how it's important for us to begin to look inward to harness our tourism, and how much we can even make out of it at the end of the day. I wonder how much dynamics you would want to see change with these agreements reached.
Okay, well, in terms of tourism, I've also said in time past that we need to do a lot more, because we have a lot of culture, a lot of culture. We have a lot of tourist sites, tourist attractions that aren't even well known, but you go there, you're fascinated. I mean, you ever ask yourself why certain people from Europe, the US, and different countries of the world come to Nigeria, and then some of them refuse to go back? It's because of what they've seen. It's because of the rich culture that we have. Right. So our culture in itself is a type of tourist attraction. So we must see how we strongly harness this. And this was one of the things that I mentioned when Sam Stewart just came in and we had the ministers appointed then. I think they were just nominated then. I said it on maybe this platform or another, that we need to see how we maximize and harness our tourism sector. Very, very importantly, we must see how we get investments in from the private sector, partner with private sector, to see how we can jumpstart the ones that we know already are existing, and see how we can work with maybe folks who are into non-profits and all of that, even folks who are in businesses for profit, to see how we can also include other ones that aren't so well known, so that we can have an expansive basket of tourist attraction sites. Because there are countries in the world today that's all they have as revenue.
Absolutely.
That's literally all they have. That's, if people don't come again, people start dying on the streets from hunger. So we must be serious about it, to see that we get our tourism right, because we have a lot to show the world. We have a lot to offer. The B part of that is we must fix security. Because that is one strong thing that can hamper whatever we're trying to do with tourism. Because today we're talking about tourism, and some folks today will not even travel from Lagos to Ibadan for security reasons, because they have a family engagement. Now, not to now talk of tourism. So we must get security right first, very important, while we work towards getting tourism and other sectors right. So, I mean, these conversations are always holistic, right? So when we're saying, okay, we need to get tourism right, it means we also need to get security right. We want to get investments right, we need to get education right.
Okay. Our time is up, gentlemen. So much has been said. So we must thank you, strategy consultant, public affairs analyst, Dikpo Iwole.